volume is all down. That's why I didn't hear things start. Hey, everybody! It's 6 p.m. and it's time to get started with session 10 of Joy of Programming. So tonight we're going to continue to work with that REST API code that we broke ground on Monday. On Monday, we were just reading through the code. We were using the debugger to understand it. Tonight, we're going to modify it. So we're going to take that example dictionary application and refactor it into something that looks a little bit more like an appointment application, so that we can see more examples of refactoring, and just give you guys a little bit of a head start on Project 4. And don't worry, I don't think we're going to give the answer away or anything, because there's a lot to Project 4. But first, I wanted to open it up for Prime Minister's questions. Project 2 was due tonight, and actually, people that submitted before office hours, I was able to go through the submissions and run them through the script. A couple of people had a couple little things to fix, and I think a couple people had problems parsing the command line or whatever. No big deal there. I'm sure it's things that are pretty straightforward to fix. But overall, I really liked what I saw. I think people had really solid Project 2s. So I took that as a sign that overall, you understood what was expected of you and were able to make it happen. But anything I can tell you, either about Project 2 or Project 3 that's coming up, due a week from tonight. Yeah, good. So let me get the chat up, see if anybody's there. Okay, no, that's good. Like I said, things are pretty good at the moment. So then, but hey, I do want to stress that Project 3 is due next week, and so then that one I hope is pretty straightforward after Project 2. And on Monday we assigned Project 4, and we're going to dive into Project 5. Well, let's see here. We're going to start doing Android stuff next week, and then we'll see Project 5 on the 4th. But just make sure to keep up with things, because there's a quiz and a project due every week. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about. Actually, let's review what the REST API program was all about. So let's see here. I put this picture in front of you all a bunch of times on Monday, just as a reminder of what we've got. So in Project 4, we expand the appointment book application to have two Java programs that talk to each other. On the right is the web application. So this is a long-running Java program that serves up the REST API, a web application that provides a REST API for your appointment book. And the main piece of code that implements the logic of the REST API is something called the appointment book servlet. And a servlet is a servlet is part of a standard API in Java that responds to HTTP requests. And so it speaks the language of HTTP. It has a method, a do method for each one of the HTTP verbs, like get, input, and post. That's where, and each one of those do methods takes two parameters: a parameter, an object that represents the request, and an object that represents the response. And so this forms the interface between you and the web container, your code and the web container. And as we saw, there's this class called appointment book servlet that is one of those HTTP servlets that provides the implementation of the REST API of the responses to HTTP requests. And because HTTP is standard, any client, there are lots of different kinds of clients to your appointment book application. And actually, your code itself doesn't really care what the client is, whether it's a web browser, whether it's a program, whether it's something else. And so then, as we saw, we can interact with the servlet, interact with the web application through through the web browser. Actually, let me just run it again so we can see what we got here. Let's see here. We'll just run Jetty, and I guess we'll run it with the debugger, but we don't need to care. And by the way, Jetty is the web container that we use, so that's the thing that ultimately serves up the contents of your web application of your servlet. It takes care of all of the handling of the request, and then routes it to the right place so that it can respond. So if we just go back to sort of the root URL, which is localhost 8080. So this is the hosting port that the web application runs on, well, that the Jetty runs on. And then /appointment book is your application. It serves up this simple HTML file that then allows you to interact with the program, and so you can do things like define a new word in this simple dictionary application, and now when you go and look it up, you see it. And this is interacting with the application through a web browser, and as we saw last time, we can also interact with it. Let's get localhost again. There we go. We don't need debugger on. Come on. Sure. We can get the definition that way. And here, we make an HTTP request through a command line program, but as far as the server is concerned, it's the same. It's the same interaction. And so then that's how the program works, and and what you'll do as part of the assignment is to implement a REST API that speaks the language of appointments. So right now, what's implemented is the simple dictionary, and here what you'll do is you'll augment the functionality or change the functionality of these URL handling to be able to do the kinds of things that you would do with your appointment book application. So you can add new appointments, you can get appointments, you can and do some new capabilities like search for appointments between that begin between two times. So we covered all of this, and all of this is driven by a command line program that has familiar but yet slightly different syntax than projects 1, 2, and 3, and there's some examples here in the assignment. And and by the way, when we create a new project, clearly this is the code is very different from projects 1, 2, and 3, and so there's a new Maven project in your repository, and it'll be called appointment book -web. And so then if you haven't done that already, please do it. Just make sure everything works in your environment because it's a little more complex. So just make sure that things pass out of the box for you, and then it should be a good place. So make sure you do that now while you're and then return to focusing on project 3, because the project 4 leverages the pretty printer that you'll develop in project 3. And it also leverages classes from project 2, like clearly your appointment book and your appointment class, but also your text dumper and your text parser. Okay. Before I dive into the code, start doing a little bit of review there, is there anything people would like to discuss about sort of the project itself, what the expectations of the assignment are? Does anybody have anything that maybe came up in the last couple of days that they'd like to discuss now? Cool. I realize this might seem a little far in the future, but we're getting an introduction to this now, so we can focus on other things next week. Okay. So I want to look at the code itself. This IntelliJ here. So let's see here. I was right here. We are in our appointment book web. So we looked at. We spent a lot of time looking at the code on Monday. We used a debugger to walk through it to understand what it was doing. And so then, but I just wanted to highlight some of the code. So here we are in the appointment book server class. It has the do-get, and basically, what the do-get and the do-post do is get information from the parameters that are passed in, and parameters are passed in, in the URL in the case of a get, or they are passed in the body of the HTTP post. Regardless, you get them via this get parameter method where you pass in the name of the parameter, and then it gets the value of the parameter, or null if it's not provided. And then you do something with it. So in this case, and here again, very simple application. It will update a very simple map of strings to strings. This is a dictionary. It maintains this in memory, and it lets you interact with it over various invocations of the REST API, various HTTP requests sent to the servlet. So this is the server side. This is the right-hand side of the drawing. Right, this is the servlet. All this up over here, and this is what will interact. Well, actually, both sides interact with classes like appointment, but we'll see that later on in class. On the left-hand side, on the client side, there's a couple of things. First, there's a main class that has the main method that does the command line parsing, and then delegates the sort of the work of invoking the REST API off to this appointment book client, REST client class. And so this is a class that who is responsible for crafting the REST API calls and handling the output. And we talked a little bit about this on Monday, but this is a design choice that I made on your behalf. I think this will keep the code much more simple if we have an object that speaks the language of the application. It speaks the language of, well, it's speaking in dictionary terms, so that's what it's speaking right now. But tonight, again, we're going to morph this into your appointment book. It'll be much more fluent. And because this will do things like return an appointment book and create an appointment, the main class will again be much more fluent. It'll just work with the domain, the objects of the assignment, of the appointment, of the appointment book assignment, as opposed to just strings. And so then the appointment book REST client leverages this thing called a request helper to HTTP request helper, which is a class that I wrote, to actually make the calls. And this is the thing that does the work of using like these Java net URL APIs and this HTTP URL connection to actually perform the HTTP GET. And while this is interesting and good for you to know, you read about it in the lectures. You don't need to write this code yourself. I'll write it. I decided to write it for you. Just one more thing for you to you don't have to figure out. And so then the intent here is that this abstract, so the responsibility of this class is to interact with HTTP. And so really this has nothing to do with appointments. Actually, this is often my code, often the web code. This has nothing to do with the appointment book domain, but it knows everything about making HTTP requests and handling the response. Cool. So then, I want to, at the very end of class, like the last 10 minutes of class, when I'm sure everybody's brain was full, we talked about the tests. And that's where I want to start tonight. I want to dive some more into the tests. And I think I want to start with the integration tests first. So with in projects 1, 2, and 3, we had integration tests. And you've all written an integration test as part of your assignments. And the whole idea is that the integration test exercise is the main method. Now, you may recall us talking about the fact that integration tests, yes, they work with multiple components all interacting with each other. But when it comes to testing the command line, the main method, what the test does is it invokes the main and provides input via command line arguments, and then validates the output that's written to standard output or standard error. And we do the same thing here for a project for IT. And so then it will invoke main like with no command line arguments and make sure that we're get the appropriate thing. But also it'll do things like, hey, when there is an empty server, then when you look for all of the dictionary entries, make sure that nothing is written to standard error and that it gets an empty dictionary that is printed as standard output. And so then we go through and we assert various things about project about the project for main. And this code should look relatively familiar to you, right? You used the main method result class to get at standard output and standard error, and we're just doing the same kinds of integration tests that we did in projects 1, 2, and 3. What's different here is that when we invoke the main, what the main method ends up doing is calling the REST API. And so when we run these tests, we need to have the server running on the other side. So for instance, I'm going to run all these tests now. And I was hit in the pass because, it looks like, yeah, Jupyter problem. Okay, never mind. Okay, I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to do a Maven clean. Oops, I'm going to do a Maven W clean. By the way, I think we've seen this before. I just want to highlight it. When we see this test engine with ID, Jupyter failed to discover tests, the way to clean that up is to do a Maven clean, and now you run it again. And that almost always goes away. It ought to go away. Oh, good, it does. Oh, and everything failed because it went to perform these operations, and the server wasn't running. So oops. So now I need to run. Oops, I need to run Jetty over here. So Jetty's running here in the background, and I guess it technically is in the background with regards to IntelliJ. And now when I run the tests again, yep, everything passes because it was able to communicate with the server. Yeah. Excellent question. I'm just about to get to that too. So it's like, wait a second, do I need to start the server before running the integration tests? From IntelliJ, that's true. If you're going to run the test from IntelliJ, then the server needs to be running. But I'm going to set the server over here on the right, and over here on the left, I'm going to run Maven W. I'm just going to say clean verify, right, which is what you've probably been using in your projects 1, 2, and 3 to sort of run everything, including the integration tests. When you run the integration test from Maven, the pom.xml, if you go and look at all the gory details, is configured to start Jetty and deploy the application before you run the unit test, before you run the integration tests, which is awesome, right? And so you don't need to have that step. Everything is all one command to to run the entire build process for the project end to end. So yes, it compiles the source code, runs the unit tests, compiles the integration tests, runs the integration test, verifies everything's okay. Oh, good, everything passed. And in amongst that, it goes and it starts and stops Jetty. So, as we saw, there's a ton of output here, but you'll notice that it's the same output, including this stuff right here in Maven. That was output here when you ran Jetty from the command line. So Maven takes care of everything end to end. And so then when your integration tests are run through Jetty, when you run through Maven, Jetty's already running, and so that's somebody to talk to. So the project 4 integration tests, here again, this code is probably familiar to you by now, or at least you sort of is something that you expect. Now, there are integration tests for project 4, but there are also integration tests for your REST client. The REST client, you won't be able to validate this on its own, right? And that way you can get this working before you write the command line parsing, for instance. Or I want to focus on testing just the REST client. I want to be able to invoke the methods directly on the REST client. And you can write an integration test for that too. And here it is. And so then here, you're making a new REST client, and you're doing things like calling the get all dictionary entries method. And so here, what this does is it validates that an empty server contains no dictionary entries. And so it goes and asks for the dictionary, and then asserts that the dictionary object that's returned has size 0. And here, the reason I like having these integration tests here is that we are we are exercising the Fluent Java API for working with appointment books. So this is nice. This is just another style of a test that you can write, and it's much more focused than the Project 4 IT because you're just testing the REST client. You're not testing the command line parsing plus the REST client. It's just it's more focused. So that way, if there is a bug, you know where it is. And so here again, we can go through and use the client to add dictionary entries, and then we go and get it. All this stuff here. And once again, this is an integration test. It requires that Jetty be running. So right now, Jetty is not running. And so now if I run this, everything's going to fail because this too clean again. Sorry. When I run these tests, when I run these tests again, everything is going to fail with connection refused because there's no server running on the other side. So if we start the server, we run the test again. Patient, what's up? Good. Everything passes. Everything's about to pass. Yep. because now the server's running. Cool. So those are the integration tests. They require the server running. Now, I can't demonstrate, or I'm not going to demonstrate these for you quite yet because we need to start changing the code. But we're sitting here in IntelliJ, and let's say we're making a change to our servlet. We're putting some code in our servlet. In order for the integration test to exercise that new code on the server side, you need to restart the server. And that can be slow, right? To go back and forth, Control-C it, start it back up again. Yeah, I mean, you can do it, but it was kind of nasty. Plus, just in general, I won't be able to write unit tests, like through unit tests for my code, because the logic's there. I want to have a very rapid turnaround. I don't have to be starting Jetty all the time. And plus, I want to be able to write tests that are a little bit more focused and structured than these very kind of coarse-grained integration tests. So, I won't be able to write unit tests for code like my appointment book servlet and my appointment book REST client. But this code has a lot of dependencies on it. This code is coupled to things like the HTTP servlet and these HTTP servlet request objects. And the REST client is coupled to this HTTP request helper. And all of those depend on like Jetty and the server being there and everything. Yeah, it's much more complex. And so if I want to write a plain old unit test that does something like invokes my my doPost method, sure, I can instantiate and create a new instance of the servlet class, of the appointment book servlet class. It's got a zero argument constructor. But if I want to invoke doPost, I got to figure out how to send an HTTP servlet request and an HTTP servlet response. So how do I do that? We skimmed over this on Monday, but now I want to go into some more details. So we've got integration tests and we've got unit tests for things. And so here's the unit test for the appointment book server, because I can write unit tests, but I need to solve that fundamental problem of how do I provide the dependent objects to the code so that I can work with it in a test environment when it's expecting to be run inside a servlet. The way I do that is I use these mock objects. Now, if you haven't watched the lecture all about mock objects, it's from last week, please do. This is an important concept for Project 4. It's also a pretty advanced one. What students have told me is like, oh wow, this is like kind of a quantum leap in like the complexity and sort of the mind-blowing aspects of this. All of a sudden, this seems unfamiliar to people because you probably haven't seen some of this in other courses. So ultimately, what I want to do, and actually let me go down to this one's probably a little bit more interesting. This is adding one word to the dictionary. And what I want to do is I want to write a test where I create my servlet and then I add a word to the dictionary by calling the doPost method, and then I verify that yes, the word that I defined is indeed in the dictionary now. And so ultimately what I want to do is I want to call this doPost. This right here is my code under test, right? I want to call doPost on my servlet, and I want to send it a request that contains the information about the word in the definition. And then I also want to capture the response to make sure that the data that I expect to be written is written to the response. And then I want to validate that yes, that map that the servlet maintains contains the word and definition that I expect. And so in order to do this, we basically need to pass in a request that looks like a request from a HTTP client. And then we want to also get information out of the response to make sure that what was written to what would be written back to the HTTP client is what we expect. And here's how we do that. We use these mock objects. So mock objects are these objects that implement the interface that we expect, right? HTTP servlet request is an interface from the servlet API. We have this mock object, and we create it using this Mockito library. So you say, hey, I want a mock instance of HTTP servlet request. And these mock objects have this property, have the ability to, I call it being programmed, to respond in certain ways. So we can use this when method from the Mockito library to say the following. When the get parameter method of the request object is invoked with the parameter, word parameter, then return the string word. Now, as you may recall, request.get parameter is called by the servlet in the get parameter method. Ultimately, we call request.get parameter. And so what we're doing is we end up passing a mock object here that when get parameter is called with word, it will return the test word, the thing that we're testing here. Now, the code under test, the servlet itself, doesn't care that it's being passed a mock object. That's the beauty of mock objects, the beauty of programming to the interface. It's like, hey, I got some instance of HTTP servlet request, and I call the get parameter method on it, and it returns whatever it returns. And so what you're doing with these mock objects is, I wouldn't say tricking, I would say sort of providing an environment that mocks out what happens in the real world when it's invoked when this code is invoked inside Jetty. And it's providing just enough simulation of the real world so that the test will pass. So it has the information, so the code under test has the information to get its work done. And so what we do is we mock out the behavior for the word parameter and the definition parameter for this request mock object. Now, so that then sort of like, this is the request that has the behavior that ultimately we want this test to have. Similarly, for the response, we're going to mock that out. And how does the code interact with the response? Well, let's see here. Let's go back up to where it was called here in doPost. Here, the response. So here's what we do. So after we have validated the input and put the word and the definition in the dictionary, we then interact with the response as follows. We get the print writer from the response, and then we print some stuff to it, we flush it, and then we return status OK. So we interact with the response in two ways. We interact with it, the code under test interacts with it in two ways. It calls get writer and it calls set status. And so then our unit test wants to test these interactions, and it needs to provide provide the writer behavior so that when the code under test invokes get writer, it has something that's meaningful for the test. So what we do ultimately is we program the response object to say, hey, listen, when get writer is called, then return this print writer that I've defined here in my test. And what this print writer does is basically, well, it's a print writer around a string writer. A string writer provides the writer interface and buffers things up in memory in a string that I can then interrogate later on in the test to make sure that it got the value that I want. So, what this code right here does, what this code right here does is creates these mock objects that we then pass to our post method in the request and in the response. And the post method is none the wiser. All it knows is provided a request object and a response object that behaves in a certain way. And great, it goes off and invokes those things. Oh yeah, and by the way, Mockito, when the code under test calls get parameter, Mockito is smart enough to return the right value. So we go off and call the do post the code under test. And now, once this is returned, assuming it's returned successfully, it didn't throw an exception or something. And now this is sort of like, this is all the given, this is the when, and now it's time to do all of our then stuff. And what's the then stuff? Well, we need to validate that the response object was interacted with as we expect. So we expected that the print writer for the response object would be used to write some text back to the client. And here we say, great, give me the string value give me the text that was written to this string writer as a string, and assert that it contains this defined word as message. And so then this will validate that yes, yes, we defined that word. Also, as a demonstration, we use something that Mockito has called an argument captor to then to capture the argument, to get the value that was passed to a method. So we use this verify method with Mockito to say, hey, verify that the setStatus method was invoked on the response and capture its value for me. And so here we say, okay, great, I capture the value here. I'm going to assert that the value that was captured is equal to scok. And this validates that the status was set to 200 to scok. And here again, we're using Mockito to basically get at the how these mock objects were interacted with. And finally, we're going to assert, and we're just going to call this method on the servlet, so no Mockito here. We're just going to say, hey, give me the definition of word, and I want to assert that it was actually defined with the definition that I expect. And so then when we run this test, when we run this test as a plain old unit test, I can run it on its own. It doesn't interact with Jetty, right? It doesn't care that Jetty is or isn't running, right? No interactions here with Jetty, and everything passes. Just warning about Mockito. I guess I need to do something different. I'll look at that later. So that test passes. And we have a similar test for validating that the servlet contains no entries initially. So this is some magic here. We have these mock objects, but what this allows us to do is interact with our servlet in a traditional plain old unit test. We don't need to have Jetty running or anything like that. And it allows you to have very focused unit tests. It allows you to do tests from development because you get very rapid feedback because they are just plain old unit tests. Yeah. Yep. Excellent question. Right. So, and actually, we're going to see lots of examples of that tonight, where we. And so the question was, hey, listen, you've got these mock objects. If I start renaming methods and I move stuff around, are they going to get it right? The answer is yes, because the mock objects, implement interfaces. So, I don't think I have an example here because all these things that are mocked are standard Java types. I'm not going to be changing them. But if I was mocking out like an interface in my own code base and I rename a method on it, yep, the IDE is going to rename the mocks called that method because IDE doesn't know it. Actually, IDE doesn't care that it's a mock object. Everything's statically typed. So as far as the IDE is concerned, this is the same HTTP servlet request that Jetty uses, right? It's just the same thing. Good question, though. So I've got, sorry, anything else? Yeah. What interfaces does mock use? Yeah. So what, you want to understand more about the implementation of the mock objects? Yep. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I don't think you're ready for that, Jelly. I mean, it's like it's crazy stuff. It's really awesome. When you know, a couple years, a few years ago, I used to go into Java reflection in the course or anything like that, and it was really neat. And it's esoteric and it's fun, but it's like, okay, you're not gonna need to know that. And so, like, hey, we focus on things that are much more practical now than we did. So, but uh, I think the things that you should, the sort of the picture you should have in your mind is that, yeah, there's like, when you say mock, it creates this little magical object that like has all these bookkeepers and stuff that'll keep track of like how it's programmed and like how it's been interacted with, and then it can play back that history, right? So it's sitting there, right here. Pretty sure I have in my head is like, Madame Defarge is sitting there, knitting all of the, here's everything that was said, here's how it was interacted with, and then can play it back. So, yeah, we weren't expecting Dickens and Bootylicious in the same. Anyway. Sigh. I'm more caffeinated. Okay. Yeah. So then we're going to be working with these tonight. It's going to seem like magic because it is magic. And but what Susan told me is that yeah, they figured it out enough and are able to use it. But this is also how you achieve code coverage for this project. So Project 4 has the same code coverage requirements as the other projects because you can write unit tests, you can write integration tests for all the code, and therefore you will write unit tests and integration tests for all. So here's an example of mocking out the objects that are sent to the servlet. And then I also want to just point out that here in the point book REST client test, we have we can mock out the objects that are sent to the REST client also. In this case, what we mock out is the HTTP request helper, which represents the call to the server. So this, of course, you want to mock this out in a unit test. So what you end up doing is programming this mock HTTP request helper to basically behave like the like the web server would, meaning that oh yeah, you give it a bunch of well, like when you say the HTTP get method, you hand it a parameter of you hand it a map of URL parameters, and it returns well the dictionary, the text form of the dictionary. And so what we'll be doing is morphing this to use instead of sending in the dictionary. Instead of like having a dictionary text, you'll have the appointment book text. And let's just run this for good measure. Make sure everything. Oops, didn't need to write into the debugger. That'll be fine. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we're going to be seeing more of these things, but I want to start out with an overview of the tests. Anything else to discuss before we move on and start modifying the code? Yeah. Oh yeah. So yes. So I talked a lot about the mocking, but I didn't talk much about the when. And I want to go back to the servlet test because I think that is a better example. So the when, this is basically specifying how you want the mock object to behave. I think this is a better example. So the when is all about saying, hey, listen, I want to specify how I want the mock object to behave. So I say the following. So I say, and the syntax is a little weird. You'll get used to it though. When the request.getParameter method is invoked with the input with the parameter word.parameter, then return our test word value. Right, so get parameter. I mean, the method takes a string and returns a string, and those are the strings that you that they configure to deal with. And same thing there. And so then, yeah, again, it takes a little while because it's like, wait, I'm invoking this method, here as part of the test, and yeah, actually you are. This is just the magic of Mockito. And again, this is like all this. I imagine there's all this bookkeeping involved, where it's like, oh yeah, it invokes this get writer method on the response, the mock response, and then someone's keeping track of the fact that oh yeah, right, that get writer is called, and so then in the future when get writer is called, then I'm going to have it return that print writer. And again, this is where I sort of suspend disbelief and say, okay, hey, I know that it works because my test passes. I'm not going to, I'm not going to fight it. Just work with it. Yeah. The print writer object right here. Yes. And here, you're not verifying it as much as you are sort of, I think it's programming the mock object, or you are, commanding your, you know, instructing. Okay, I like that word. Yeah, instructing it. So it's like, you're saying, hey, when get writer is invoked, then return this particular print writer. Yeah, it's kind of wild stuff. Okay. So now it's time to write some code. So we have this out-of-the-box dictionary application. Very nice. Um, the problem is that what we want to have an appointment book application. And so what I want to do for the rest of class tonight is to refactor, to morph this application from dictionary, from talking about words and definitions, to talking about appointments. And let's see here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the domain classes and the text dumper and the text parser. So this is the kind of thing that you did in project 2 and what you're doing in project 3. But I'm just going to sort of hack things together so that it works. But I think ultimately though there's a sort of an end game that I want to start with at the beginning, which is the following. So right now, the appointment book servlet supports two parameters, the word and the definition. And if you look at the assignment, it supports, if you just think about like the do post, the post needs to support the owner, the description, the begin time, and the end time. So what I think I'm going to aim to do tonight is get the application to a point where it supports owner and description. Begin and end can be left as an exercise to the student. So the ability to create, basically create an appointment in an appointment book with the owner of a given name with a given description. I'm going to ignore begin and end for the time being tonight. And which is actually kind of nice because I need to support two URL parameters. I've already got two URL parameters there in the servlet, so I think I'm going to morph that. Actually, maybe that's where I should start. Yeah, maybe I should start there. Okay, so maybe that's the first refactor I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to say, hey, instead of supporting words and definitions, I'm going to have an owner and a description. So, okay, let's do that. Let's do some refactoring. Okay, so I think what I want to do here is we'll just renaming things. And actually, oh wait, I had a local change. What was that local change? Oh, I had a couple of things. What did I change here? I changed, I just renamed some things. That's nice. Oh, I should rename that. Yeah, in the box. Okay, well, so like, and I made some changes. I changed index.html just so we could see it. That's fine. Just gonna commit those. A couple of minor changes to demonstrate how the dictionary program application works. Okay, commit and push that up. Okay, let's start breaking things and refactoring. So instead of word, I want word to be owner. Yeah, owner. So the owner parameter to my servlet, or I want the word parameter to my servlet to be called owner. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to refactor, and I'm going to say rename, and I'm going to call this the owner parameter. And I'm going to change its value to owner. And I am going to do the same thing for definition. I'm going to change it to description. So the description of the appointment. Description. And let's see here. And so then this changed. So I used the rename. And so now every place you can see there's a bunch of changes here. where now there's owner instead of word or whatever it was. This is nice. This is nice. This is nice. I'm gonna, yeah. Let's find out. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I was gonna look at the changes here, but yeah, let's run the tests to see what we got. Let's run our unit test first. I'm going to go and run all of the unit tests. Let's say run all the tests, all the unit tests. I don't know if it's going to break anything or not. It shouldn't. Nope. Yeah, I changed the value, so that's okay. Let's see about the integration tests. So I'm going to restart my Jetty. And then I'm going to run the integration test. I need to restart my Jetty because I changed my servlet class. By the way, this is something that trips everybody out. I get tripped by this all the time, right? You change the server-side code, you've got to restart your server. You've got to rebuild and restart your server. And in some environments, you can get away, they automatically will redeploy things, but I don't have to continue to do that because it doesn't work that well for me. Nice, okay, all that worked. That's cool. I think I do know something that will break though. I think the index.html will break. All right, so if I reload this and I try to create a new word for like doe, deer, female, deer, I expect this will break. Yep, because it's requiring a parameter called owner. I need to go change the index.html to have the owner be the owner, you have the name the parameter be owner. By the way, you don't need to do this. I'm going to do it just sort of for demonstration and stuff. And actually, I'm just going to like, yeah, let's see here. Let's do interact with the, I'm going to change this up because I kind of like working with the index.html. I like being able to interact with it, just not in unit tests and stuff. I think it makes for better demonstration. With the, so I'm going to say the appointment book, REST API that is created. And now, so let's see here, get all, I'm going to say this is get all. Well, we don't really have a get all appointments, do we? We don't have that capability. We can search, which I'm not going to implement tonight, and we can then get the appointments for a particular owner. So this now is, let's see here, that's the definition for the word. This then becomes list the appointment books, list appointments owned by. And here, this is not the word anymore. This is the owner. So here's another place where we need to change word to owner. And this is because this is the HTML form is the thing that like forms the URL or does the HTTP post. And so you need to change the inputs to it. So okay, you got that. It still posts to the same place. So post to appointments, and then create a new appointment. And this will be owner appointment owned by the owner. And then, so the definition, we're going to have the description. And I'm going to put some text there. Oops, description. And here I'm going to say, yeah, owned by description that, and then submit. Right there. Okay, and now the index.html is included in the server, so I need to rebuild the server and start it again. Okay. Now we're going to go back here. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to reload. The text has changed, so we change the text. So we can list all appointments owned by this. Create an appointment owned by that. Okay, so there are no prompts anymore, so I'm going to say it's owned by Dave. I'm going to say description test 1. I'm going to submit that. Okay, it was successful to find, so it looks like that was okay. Now I'm going to go back and list all the appointments owned by Dave. And there it is. Ah, okay, good. So things seem to be working. Okay, it's not what we want. This isn't necessarily the right, this isn't the appointment book format, but this is pretty good. Okay, so we're going to start there. So now we got that. Okay, so rename the URL parameters for the appointment book to be relevant to the appointment book. I'm going to commit and push this. Now, when I push, I'm going to have a continuous integration run, so I'm kind of watching my phone here to see if I get an email saying that things failed on the continuous integration server. Okay. Well, cool. I'm glad that I made these changes to the index.html so we can have sort of better tests and stuff. And now, let's see here. I think I want to, yeah, I'm wondering if I should refactor the client side or the server side first. I'm going to refactor the server side. I think that might make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to sort of look through my code. Now, I'm going to look at all the stuff that depends really on this dictionary, because the dictionary that's not the domain anymore. What we want to store here actually is a bunch of appointment books, right? Because I think what we're going to want is appointment books. So it's still going to be a map, but it's going to map the name of the appointment book owner to the appointment book object for that name. Because we'll need to be able to look up the appointment book by its owner. I suppose we just have a list and iterate through it, but hey, let's use a map. So let's do some more renaming here. I'm going to rename this to, yeah, I'm going to rename this, oh, actually, I got a lot of things. I'm going to call this appointment books. And, ultimately, what I want this to be is an appointment book object, but I don't have that object yet. Now, you do, but I don't in here because it doesn't create one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little detour and I'm going to sketch out my domain objects here so that I've got an appointment book. Now, you won't have to do this because you've already been doing it for like 3 projects, right? So you ought to be able to just reuse your appointment book, your appointment, your text number, your text parser, your pretty printer. Just copy them right in. You'll need to make a copy of them from your project one, from your other, from the other Maven project, your appointment book project, copy into this one. But that's at least where you should start. Maybe we'll make a couple of tweaks in order to get things to work. But you won't have to do what I do, what I'm going to do now, which is to create an appointment. Okay, so in the way I'm going to do that, I think, yeah, I'm just going to do this test-driven. I already have a text dumper parser test, and this is the thing that basically it tests the text dumper and the text parser and just makes sure that whatever I dump can then be parsed again. A pretty simple thing, but now instead of doing this for a map, I want to do this for an appointment with actually an appointment book. So let's see here. Empty map can be dumped and parsed. Now, am I going to have an empty map? I might have an empty appointment book. So okay, so I'll change that. So I'll say empty appointment book can be dumped and parsed. Yep. Okay. And so now I am just going to, I'm just going to blow all this stuff away. So now I'm going to have an appointment book. Yep, do that. And actually, okay, so it needs to create this class. So I'm going to create this class. I'm not going to use the one from the other appointment book or the appointment book module. I'm going to create a new one. You're just going to copy yours in. I'm going to have it here not in my test code, but in my main code of my appointment book web in my package. Poof, there it goes. Yes, please add it to Git and make it big enough so we can all see it. Maybe not that big. Okay, appointment books always have an owner, and so my owner will be test appointment book. That's great. I'm going to create that constructor, and I'm going to call this the owner. Now, appointment book extends abstract appointment book. So this is also that you did like on for the first abstract appointment book. Abstract appointment book. Great. Oh, of type T, so now it's going to need an appointment class. No, not book, just the appointment, please. Let's see if there was complaining about. I need to create class appointment. I'm going to create that in my main, in that package, appointment. Yep, I'm going to make it bigger so we can all see it. And then this is going to complain about something. It's going to say make appointment extend abstract appointment. Yes, yes, please. And now it's still complaining about stuff. It's going to implement some methods. Great, great, great. All this good stuff. Okay. And so I'm going fast here because, hopefully you can all, see what I mean here. Come on. Owner equals owner. Thanks. AI, create that field. And I'm going to have the owner name. I'm going to have it return owner name. So owner. This ought to be good enough for now. I'll need to add the get appointments, but not for this unit test, I won't. Okay. So now, actually, it's all green, still compiling. This is not compiling. Here, I need to implement a bunch of methods. Great. We won't need this for right now. Okay. So, I've got my appointment book. Everything's green there. Okay, I've got my appointment book, and that's that. And now I want to, my dump and parse is going to return another appointment book. That is the result of dumping that out to text format and then reading it back in. Oops. Okay. And then I'm going to dump and parse. I'm going to dump and parse appointment book. And I need to change that. And then red is equal to appointment book. Oops, come on. There we go. I need to change my dump and parse to take an appointment book instead. And I don't want to call it map anymore. I want to call it book. Nice. And this is complaining because it's returning the wrong thing. We're going to make dump and parse return appointment book. Okay. I'm refactoring. And so as you can tell, I'm changing stuff, and I start going from this red to green just to get things to compile, so it keeps complaining about things like, oh, look, my dumper method, my text dumper has a dump method which doesn't, which takes something else and saying, oh, it requires an appointment book, not a map. I am going to create the method dump in text dumper that takes an appointment book. Great. And yep. I also want my text dumper to implement appointment book dumper. Appointment book dumper that dumps appointment books. Oops. Appointment book. Everybody's all happy. It's probably saying it says override, and now it does. This is cool. Okay. I need to go back and implement this, but I'll get there later. I need to go back to my unit tests here. Now I'm doing this. I'm basically implementing projects 1, 2, and 3 in front of you. Maybe I should have done this before class. I don't know. Let's see here. Parser.parse. Oh, this is interesting. Oh yeah. Okay. So this is going to break something. But anyway, now I need to change the text parser to parse. Yeah. To be an appointment book parser so that it parses appointment books. I'm going to rename this method. Okay, sorry. I realize I have a problem here. My problem here is that I want to try to work incrementally, and I'm trying to develop all of this like code for dealing with appointments independently of my servlet, because my servlet calls all these methods, and I don't want to do a big bang refactoring of all of that. I kind of want to isolate. I want to isolate my changes for appointment book, get that working, get that unit test that does the text, that does the parsing and dumping working, and then I'll go back and change the servlet in another run. So I want to rename this. I want to keep this method, but if I say that this implements appointment book parser, wrong, not a map of string, but of appointment. Oops, appointment book. Then oops, implements. What does it like? Oh, proto class. Did it? No, I didn't import it. What does it like? It is Oh, did it add some weirdo code or something? Oh shoot, what's wrong here? Well, that looks okay. Oh, everything just got fine. Okay, it must have just been confused. Okay, so this parse method that was here before doesn't doesn't actually override. It returns the wrong thing. And so what I want to do, but I want to keep this. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to say refactor rename. It's going to say only the current method. I'm going to say parse as map. And this way the code that calls it can still get the map value. And now what I want to do instead here is I want to implement the methods for parse. And now parse returns appointment book. And yeah, I'll go through and I'll fix this later. What doesn't it like? Oh, wow, it doesn't like what is it doing? Unused import scheme. Yeah. So it doesn't like this code for some reason. That's really weird. Wonder why. Okay. Because it looks like it's okay. Like this is what I did before. I did that, and now it's happy. Okay. So IntelliJ was just being a little moody, apparently. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now I think I have things compiling, but I know they won't work. That's okay. I just want to see things compile and then have failing. Come on. Where is the unit test? Sorry. There's some parts of test. Is all this compiling? No, this is not. Because I get another. Yeah, I have this code right here, which I'm not so interested in right now. So I'm going to just comment that out. Oops. And here I don't want parse as map. Here I just want parse. Okay. So then, can I get my empty point book to parse? It should blow up pretty royally because the parser isn't implemented yet. So I'm going to quick implement this dumper and parser. I'm going to go back to my text dumper, and I'm just going to, I'm just going to do the following. I'm going to use like the same format here, just so I can parse it. Well, and this might be sufficient actually. I'm going to call this. Actually, it won't be. No, let's do this right. Okay, let's do this right. So when I dump the appointment book, it's a little bigger so we can see all the code. I'm going to basically do the same thing here with my try with resources. But now here, instead of writing the dictionary, I'm going to write. I'm just going to write the book, the name of the book, the name of the name of the owner, I guess. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. Okay, so basically all I have right now, all I'm dumping is the name of the owner. And then when I parse, not that text parser, thank you. Where is, let's see, here's the web text parser. Now when I parse that, I want to have like essentially the same stuff here. Nah. I want this same try block. With resources. Actually, I do want all this kind of same stuff. I want all this. And here, though, I'm going to read each line, and all I expect right now is the name of the. Yep. I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to create. Yep, I'm going to read. Okay. So I'm going to say the following. I'm going to have an appointment book. And then I'm going to say I'm going to read the one line. The one line will be the owner name. String owner equals line. And trim it, probably not. And then I'm going to say, actually I'm just going to say you return new appointment book with the owner. Don't need this anymore. And what doesn't it like here? Course statement does not loop. That's fine. And then otherwise, if there you go, throw no owner line found in the input text file. Ah, the AI, it's so smart. Cool. Okay, let's go back and run that test again. See if it works. Oops, seriously, an error. Oh, yeah, right. I tried to compare two appointment books and they're not equal. So I'm just going to, for the sake of the test, I'm going to real quick implement an equals method on appointment book. And I'm going to say what? I can say code generates. Oh, where is generate? I never find things in these silly menus. Generate module. Okay. Generate. I'm going to say equals hash code. Itself expression is fine. Fine, fine, fine. Owner string. Owner string. Great. That looks pretty good. Run it again. And I had to do that because the test, that pass, I'm very excited about that. The test, which for whatever reason IntelliJ decides I don't want to see, the test has an assert equals. Assert that this appointment book is equal to that appointment book. It failed because it didn't override equals to tell it how to compare two instances of appointment book, and so then I did that and it passed. Yay. Okay, so that is an appointment. So let's, I think, okay, so all this worked. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to run my other unit tests to see if those still work. Wow, they did. I'm impressed. Okay, so yeah, add the ability to um, read, well, to dump and parse an appointment book. That's cool. Okay, so here again, I'm building up my application. You won't have to do this. That's why I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but hey, we've got that. Now I need to have the ability for the appointment book to have multiple appointments, and so then that's when I'm going to resurrect this method here. And but I'm going to have instead I'm going to start adding some appointments. Let's do one appointment. The appointment book. I think that'll be fine. Appointment book this, and now I'm going to say appointments book dot add appointments. Great, 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 great. Appointments are only going to have one thing. That's the description. I'm going to add that to the constructor, and this is going to be description, and then there's no super description. Thank you very much. So close, AI. Equals description. All very happy. Oh, come on, seriously. Create field for parameter description. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then I'm going to have the description return description. And I'm also, okay, so we have a description now. And I'm going to show you something interesting. I'm going to say, great, okay, add the appointment. And so then I'm going to, read it back, and I'm going to run the test. And so now we've got an appointment with a description. Add appointment isn't implemented yet, so I got to fix that. Good to know. I'm going to say this dot appointments because this is the appointment book. So appointments dot add. Yeah, you had it right. Okay, appointment. Actually, I'm going to call it appointment. Please not apt. Appointment. And then I'm going to create a field here. It is not a Unicode set. IntelliJ. So anyway, create the field. I don't want it to be Unicode. I want it to be a list. A collection. I don't really care. Collection of appointments. Great. I want to initialize it in the constructor. Final. And now I want to initialize it in the constructor to an empty list. Well, I want to make it an array list. Great. Okay, and now I add that, and then I want to call get appointments. I'm going to have, actually I don't need to implement that now. Those blow up later. Oops, what doesn't it like? Unicode set. No. Run this again. Okay, awesome. Now I've got all that, and it passed. Wait a second. No, it shouldn't have passed. It shouldn't have passed because this equals the equal to for appointment book doesn't take any of the appointments into account. So I got to do that. So then I got to override equals. So I got equals right here. So return that the owners are equal and the appointments are equal to each other. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to try, what happens if I just regenerate these again? Code, generate equals hash code, instance of expression, sure. Both of those, both of those. This looks pretty nice. Okay, now I run the test again. It's going to blow up because they are not equal. That is true because, well, because of a couple of things. Because I don't dump the appointments yet, so I guess we should dump the appointments. Okay, so dump the appointments in the text dumper and in the text parser. So let's see here. Here's the text dumper. I got to dump the appointments. So here in this dump method, not only do I write the appointment, the owner name, but now I've got to say for I just dump the description. That's great. And now in the text parser, is my text parser? I guess so. I'm going to say not only this, so I'm going to say I need to keep track of the appointment book. So I'm going to say I'm going to put this into a variable called book. I'm going to split the declaration and assignment. I'm going to put the, sorry, wrong keyboard shortcut. I'm going to put the declaration up here. I'm going to call it null. And I'm going to say if book equals null, nope, book equals null, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to create the book there from the line. Otherwise, it will, the line will be a, yes, it'll be that. And I want to return the book not here. I want to say if book not equal null, return book, and I want parentheses around it, damn it. And then otherwise, I want to do that. It doesn't like here. It says that it's redundant. Sure, okay, you want that then. Okay. Okay, let's do it. Oops. Run it again. Method is not implemented yet because get appointments hasn't been implemented. Okay, I will fix that. Yes, thank you, AI. Run it again. And they aren't equal probably because I don't override equals and hash code on appointment. That's my guess here. And so then I will generate equals and hash code using instance of and just the description equals and hash code. Let's try it one more time. It passed. Yay. Okay, so now I think I have, so I've just been, speed running through, is developing a parser and a dumper for my appointment book. Good. Okay. Again, you've already got this stuff from the first project. Okay, I'm happy with that. I have the ability to dump and parse really appointments in the appointment book. Appointments in an appointment book. Okay. Now, I've got my domain classes. I'm ready to apply them to my servlet, but let's take a break first. So let's take 10 minutes, be back here at 7:26, and then we'll start playing with the servlet code and eventually the client code. someone just asked, hey, how do you get the AI enabled? So I use Copilot. I think IntelliJ has its own AI plugin also. I use Copilot at work, and so I'll use it here at class also. And so it is a plugin that you can install in IntelliJ. So I think if you, I don't know, look for plugins, oops, or you can look for the word plugin. Search here. Plugins. There we go. And then, yeah, here are all the plugins, and you can look for Copilot. Yep, GitHub Copilot plugin, and so then you click install, and then you need to authenticate with GitHub, and as I recall, you need to enable Copilot in GitHub and stuff. And I I like it. Are you all using AI code assistant also? No? Yes? Okay. Yeah. Here again, I'm ambivalent. I find that it helps me most of the time, as you can see, right? Other times where it's like, that's not what I want to use, right? Sorry. But yeah, and so then, yeah, and probably get the official one from GitHub and not like whatever these other plugins are. Yep. So then, yeah, install it, and it does its thing, and it's pretty good. It's pretty smart. Okay. So at the beginning of class, we sort of talked about the unit tests, and then I very quickly implemented a text number and text parser for for appointments and appointment books. And now that I've got those simple domain classes, I guess I also need a pretty printer, don't I? Yeah, I'll get to that. Uh, yeah, I'll get to that. Now that I've got my domain classes, I want to start refactoring the servlet to use those domain classes. And I'm going to start with the unit tests. Appointment book servlet test. Okay. Now, initially the servlet contains no dictionary entries, which is all true, but this is not the behavior. So the behavior of the project should be if you don't pass in any parameters, then there should be an error. So I'm not going to. Maybe I can change that. Yeah. So this should be like a. Is it not found? Maybe let's do a not found. So this should be 404 now. And so then we'll run this. Oops, yeah, we'll run that. And it should fail because I wanted a 404, but actually then it spat some stuff out. It says to 200. So let's go fix that and do get. So let's see here. So if word doesn't equal null, otherwise, and this isn't word anymore, this is owner. So you can change this variable name, but we can get to it now. We won't be writing definition anymore. And actually, maybe this is, yeah, we'll do this refactoring in the next step. So here, if owner is null, then we want to write an error, which we've never written an error from here before. We have missing required parameter. Oh, actually, maybe we should just do that. Missing required parameter for the word for the owner. It'll be this code right here. So instead of this, we'll just do missing required parameter. I don't think that returns a 404, though. I think it returns like 412 or something. Let's see here. Expected a 404, but we got a 412 instead. So yeah, go fix the test. Go fix the test, he says. There it is. And then this is, what's a 412? Missing, so I'm looking at the code to figure out what 412 is. Precondition failed. Great. Okay, so now if we run this again, we should see it passes. Nope. So the 412, but got, oh, I see, send error Okay, so it doesn't call set status, instead it calls send error with this thing. Okay. So change my, oh, this here. Let's see here. Nothing's ever written to the print writer, and instead I want, it'll send this instead, and I guess I need to have this, and this, and then I'll put everything on the same line. Great. Once more with feeling. Oh, and I don't want this. I want, let's see, precondition failed. Yep. One more time. Cool. Okay. So here, instead of initially server contains no dictionary entries, I want to say owner parameter is required. Parameter is required. Doesn't throw a server exception. That's interesting. Okay, now instead of add one word to dictionary, this is where I want to say add appointment to appointment book. Add appointment to appointment book, and this is where things get interesting. Okay, so I don't have words and definitions anymore. Now I have owner, and I have description. Oops. I have description. And speed test owner test description. Okay, all this is still the same here. And so now, yeah, sure. Okay, I want to do post. I want to make sure everything is okay here. And now, instead of getting definition, now I want to get the appointment book. So now things change. Yeah, okay. So now, instead of get definition, I want to say get appointment book for the owner. And it's not going to be equal to the description. Instead, it's going to be equal to the appointment book that has that one appointment. And so then, okay, I'm going to create this method. And I'm going to create that method, and it's going to return an appointment book. And for the owner, I'm going to have return null for now, because I'll go back and fix it up later. And I want to get this appointment book. I'm just going to call it book. And I want to assert that the book, I want to assert that it's not null. Yeah. I assert the book dot get owner name equals to owner name. And I want to assert that book dot, oh, no, not so much. Book dot get appointments and get appointments is going to return. Yeah, actually, yeah. Call it iterator next. That's a good idea. Iterator next. Get description equal to description. Yeah, good enough. It might be a little fragile, but that's all right. Okay, now let's run this. Well, we know it's going to fail because it's going to return. Yeah, get appointment book owner is going to return null, but we can fix this. Okay. Nice. Okay. Get it. Let's see here. Cannot invoke get owner name because book is null. I'll make it a little bit better. Okay. So now we need to go get appointment book, and let's see here. Did I change the name of that field to appointment books? I don't like that. I'm gonna change it back to dictionary because we're gonna have some vestigial code in here as we refactor, right? I want to keep things working as best I can. So instead of this dictionary here, in addition to the dictionary, I'm going to have a private final map of string to appointment books. Oh yeah, you had it, AI. And kind of call it appointment books equals to hash map. And now I'm going to go down to that get appointment book, and I'm going to have this return this dot appointment books dot get owner. Okay, this is still going to fail because that's going to return null, but let's just make sure I can validate my understanding. And again, yep, book is null. So now, okay, now I'm going to go to the do post method. And now we're going to start breaking things. So here, We don't have words anymore. We have owners. We don't have definitions anymore. We have descriptions. And there's that. So now instead of dictionary to output, we're going to do the following. We are going to say, okay, we are going to say we want the appointment booked. So this dot appointment books dot put if absent. And the key is going to be owner. And then new appointment book owner. And that returns the appointment book that's created. So this is going to be the appointment book. And then we're going to say book dot add appointment, new appointment. Yeah, you had it. New appointment description. Oops, description. It doesn't look like there. Maybe there's no pointer exception. I don't think it will. I wonder why it thinks that. Okay. And now I think that's it. We don't, well, actually, we can still keep the dictionary there. Yeah, so this will say, oh, that's really interesting. I don't like that. Huh. Thought I had a better, oh, compute. I think that's what it is. That's what I want to use. Compute, and then here, owner there. Doesn't like. It's already there. Doesn't like. Wrong number of parameters. Did 2 but found 1. Oh, weird. Okay, that doesn't do what I thought it did then. Oh, I thought there was a fancy way to do this, but let's just do that kind of thing. Data big owner, and so then if book equals null, thank you very much. Yes, yes, yes. Add appointment, great. We'll also have a dictionary. There's maybe things will blow up as bad. Okay. Now let's run that test again. See what happens. Okay, that passed. That's cool. I wonder how my other tests fare in this class. Oh, actually, those are all of my tests. Okay, that's neat. So I think all this stuff should pass. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, okay. Cool. Okay, so that demonstrates to me that I can now, when I add an appointment, when I pass in the owner and description, then it creates an appointment in the appointment book. That's cool. Yeah. I wonder how the other tests do. I made some code changes. I wonder if I broke anything. Maybe not anything yet, because I still have that dictionary stuff. I wonder how my integration test fared. This thing's got to be broken here at some point, I think. I don't think I was factoring that carefully. Is it gonna, I think it's not running yet. Come on. Okay, run this again. Okay, a couple things failed. Test empty server. Oh yeah, this thing now throws a 412 because the parameter owner is missing. That's good to know. And oh, the add definition throws an error too because the parameter owner is missing. Oh, isn't that interesting? I wonder why that is failing. And I wonder if I should try to adjust this now or later. I'm gonna live with things being broken for a while. Yeah, I'm because I don't know. I kind of want to. I think at some point you gotta rip the Band-Aid off, break some things, put it back together again. I think now with like a half an hour left in class, it's time to do that. So okay, but I kind of like the changes that I have now, so I'm going to commit what I have. Start populating a bunch of appointment books. And I'm going to commit it. I'm not going to push it though because things are broken, so it doesn't make sense for me to run the integration tests. Okay, well I guess so. Like the next thing I want to make sure that I do is that when I get, that when I get a when I get the sorry, when I get an appointment book, that the text representation of the appointment book is returned. So, yeah, okay. Now, how best to do that? Oh, I know how to do that. Okay, cool. Okay, so now I'm going to have a new test. I'm going to say the following, void, I'm going to say fetch appointment book for owner. What? For owner. Okay, I want my servlet. I want a test owner. I do want a description. That's cool. Oh, good. It even sort of knew it. Add appointment. Owner description. That's not exactly the test method that I want. Yeah, I was wondering if it's, you know what, I kind of, that's actually not a bad thing to have. Yeah, sure, I'll take that. And then, so I want to add an appointment for that owner, and so then I want to populate the appointment in the appointment books, and so then I want to say, I want to do the following. I want to take this logic that I had up here, sorry, it's in do post, where I create the appointment, and I want to put this into a method. I want to refactor this into a method. Because I want the same logic down there, so I'm going to refactor it into a method. I'm going to say extract method. I'm going to call it get get existing appointment book. Nice. And now I'm going to do my code down here. I'm going to say get existing appointment book for the owner. And then, sure, add appointment. New, the appointment description. Okay. I think that'll do the trick. Okay, so now I can add an appointment in my test. That's nice. And this way I don't need to like invoke do post. I can just invoke do get. So I'm setting up the test data right there. And so then when the owner, I'm going to mock out the owner, then mock out the servant response. I want to get the text that was written. Wow, AI is good. So it calls the do get to do that. And it says, hey, well, no, this isn't what I want anymore, though. So now I don't want to write just the defined word as. I want to get the string. And so then this is the text. This is the appointment book text. And now I want to parse that using the text parser. Text parser, parser equals text parser string reader text. Sure, that's good. I like that. And now I want to say appointment book. I guess that parser.parse. It's going to throw some exceptions, so I add that to the method. And then I want to assert that. I want to get these assertions up here. I want to say that the owner name is equal to owner and that it's equal to description. So this asserts that this asserts that what was written back to the servlet response is an appointment book, is the text representation of the appointment book. I wonder if this is going to pass. Let's find out. And so you can do all this with unit tests, right? And it doesn't. I guess I'm not surprised. Oh, no owner line found in the text input. That's not surprising because I don't, in the servlet, I don't write anything to, I don't dump the, I don't dump the appointment book. So let's do that then. So here we are, write definition. Where is this invoked? It's right here. So this is actually, okay, great. This is do get, um, yep, of that. And so we're saying get the owner. So instead of write definition, we're going to say write appointment book. But actually, yeah, I'm going to keep that right definition. Actually, no, I'm going to break things. It's time to break things. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the appointment book. Appointment book book equals this dot appointment books dot get owner. Sure, that's good. And then actually, if book is null, yeah, it's just like that. But I don't want all of this. Otherwise, get the text dumper and dump the book and say it's okay. Ooh, I like that a lot. Okay, let's try that. Ooh, and it passed. Nice. Thanks, AI. So yeah, so the whole idea here is that I'm going to say, great, if the book already exists in my in-memory database of appointment books, then dump it out using the text dumper. And then it dumps it to the responses print writer, which then I verify here in the test because I go and I capture the print writer, or I have Mockito tell it what the print writer ought to be, and then I get the text that was written to the print writer, and I validate that I can parse it using the text parser, and so that it is valid. Excellent. That's pretty cool. And let's see here. I think that's what I kind of need to do. I have the ability. I've demonstrated that I have the ability to create a new appointment in an appointment book, and I have the ability to fetch an appointment in the appointment book, which kind of might be everything I need in the servlet right now. Interesting. Now let's see what we let's see what tests fail. Okay, so then write the text of an appointment book to the HTTP response. And spell things correctly, please. Okay. So again, I'm going to use my tests to give me an idea of what's broken and what's not. So I think like my unit test is probably still passing. That's good. Here though, let's see here. Now I want to turn to the client side of the code because I think the server side code is in pretty good shape. But oh wow, this needs to change. So okay, this is good. So now I need to change the client side code to speak the language of appointments instead of speaking the language of dictionaries. Okay. So let's see here. Again, get all dictionaries performs HTTP get with no parameters. This is not what I want. We don't have a get all dictionaries anymore. Instead, we just have like a get. I guess we just have a get. Yeah, I guess we need the one get dictionary. So yeah, I guess we sort of like the equivalent of get definition. So yeah. Okay. So now instead of get all dictionaries perform each to get with no parameters, it's really get appointment book. Get appointment book performs each to get with the owner parameter. Owner parameter. Yeah. Okay. Great. So I'm going to have. I need some test data right here. So I'm just going to copy it from my servlet unit test because I guess I don't create an appointment book. Okay, I'm just going to have this. I'm going to use this over in my client, and so then the input data is going to be like this, and then I'm going to create an appointment book equals the appointment book owner, and then book that appointment. Oh, so much faster. Okay, and then instead of dictionary as text, I'm going to have appointment book as text, book as text, and then a dictionary is going to be a book. And then I'm going to change that. And then I'm going to create my, okay, and so then this says the following. Okay, so this is saying, hey, when I have a map with an empty map, then return this. Instead, these are going to be the URL parameters right here. So the URL parameters are the following. Yeah, so when I ask for the servlet, the appointment book servlet dot owner parameter. So when that's in the URL followed by owner, then return the appointment as text. And here I'm going to create the client, and I'm going to say, instead of get all dictionary entries, I'm going to say get definition. But now the get definition of the owner, I expect that to be equal to the appointment book. And now it's time to change the appointment book client. So this won't be get definition anymore. This will be get appointment book for the owner. And now appointment book, I got to change this to, instead of returning a string, it's going to return an appointment book. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say, hey, we're going to call http.get. So this is like the HTTP helper. We're going to send it the owner equals word. We're going to check the return status. We're going to get the content. And now instead of, and we're going to parse that content, but instead of returning this as map.get word, we're going to just return parser.parse, which will return the appointment book. Okay, so that seems a little happier now. Appointment book REST client. So again, we've used Mockito to mock out the behavior of the HTTP client. So it's like, hey, listen, when you see an HTTP request, when you see a GET request of owner equals, whatever test owner we have, then return our test appointment book as text. And so now I have that mock object. I call my real code and I say, hey, listen, when I call get appointment for that owner, I expect that the book is returned. The test book is returned. Let's see if this works. Oops, something didn't work. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, now my main is broken. So, well, that's fine. So instead of format dictionary entry here, oh, this is why I need my pretty printer. Well, okay, fine. Okay, so now I need to pretty print my appointment book. I'm not going to do that just now because I'm just going to instead say the book.toString. That ought to be good enough for the time being. Okay, so let's try building it again. Does everything build? Sorry, I'm in my main method. Oops, it doesn't like this. Oh, this is another place. Oh, this is now an integration test. That is not passing, so now this is just going to fail. Okay, so this is going to be appointment book, and yeah, book. Whatever, we'll figure this out later. And this is what you do when you do a big refactoring. Things are broken for a long time, things don't compile. You gotta get things compiled so you can start running some tests, and then it's sort of a game of whack-a-mole to get things back to the way that you want. Okay, that built, okay. Now I've got the REST client, so I'm gonna run this test again. And it passed. Yay, that's nice. Okay, so now, cool. I'm gonna commit that, and I'm gonna say, make the REST client return an appointment book. Like this. Now I want to have the same test, but so this is the thing that gets an appointment. Now I want to make sure. Now I want to have add appointment. I want to implement add appointment in the appointment book client. So I'm writing a unit test for this so that I can validate it all without having to run the server. So then let's do that. So I want to say the following. I want to add, an appointment. So actually, how do I do that? I want to say, what is it going to do? I'm basically testing that I don't know what I'm testing here because there's not a lot of output of that. There's not get. That's interesting. Get appointment book, but add appointments. Um, yeah, like add dictionary entry doesn't return anything. So this is going to become the new add appointment. So I guess there's not really much of anything to there's nothing to validate because it doesn't return anything. So I'm going to say the following. I'm just going to call this add appointment. I'm going to change the names of these things. It's not a word anymore. It's the owner and it's the description. But there really isn't anything to test at this point, which I guess is okay. I mean, I suppose I could test that it actually calls the post to my URL, but nah, I don't think that's terribly interesting to test. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so then project 4. So this is going to change in some places. So maybe I'm at the point where I have to start running my. I didn't change my my REST client test. So now I guess I need to start working with my my integration tests. So okay, let's restart the JD client and let's start with running the integration test for the client IT. So maybe I should look at this first. Okay, so let's see here. Remove all dictionary entries. Oh, I haven't talked about this yet. So we have this remove all dictionary entry. Okay, for testing purposes, we have the ability in the REST API to delete the database, basically. And so I think we need to implement that for appointment books. So I'm going to call this remove all appointment books. And so this is I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it remove all appointment books. Empty server contains no entries. This is again, that's not really a valid test because we don't have get all dictionary entries. As a matter of fact, this code should just disappear. Yeah, I don't. This isn't valid anymore. As a matter of fact, I want to go find all uses of this and get rid of them. Let's see here. Project 4 uses it, and appointment book REST client uses it. So I'm just going to blow this away actually, and see what breaks. Oops. I don't want your silly stuff. Stop. Okay. Now some code should break, so I can't run this test. Yeah. Okay, so if word equals null, then we'll have to issue an error instead. This has no meaning anymore. So if word equals null, I just want to say, so do I have what do I have for methods here? No. Stop. System dot error dot println. Let's try having something spelled correctly. Println. Say no word specified, but like missing. And now, okay, I got to change some things. This isn't word anymore. This is all code occurrences. Owner. That's not definition anymore. Is description. All code occurrences description. And this isn't print all dictionary entries. This is print all. Print the appointment book. So I don't need that anymore. That's pretty obvious. And post word definition pair. I don't like that anymore. Okay, so this is add appointment. And then, sure, we can have that. Okay, and then, oh, there is some return here because we go to code path by which message wasn't defined. Oh, okay, we say error instead. Error missing owner. Okay. Does the code compile now? Nope, nope. Oh yeah, we have this thing. So we're going to get rid of this test. Okay, so this isn't define one word anymore. This is add appointment. Oh, and something I want to point out in the integration tests, um, I've the names of the tests. I have like test one, test two. This is on purpose. There's a special annotation here that says run these in the lexical order, the alphabetical order, if you will, of the methods, so that I can always be sure to remove all the appointment books first. So I start the test with a clean slate on the server side. So the first thing you do is delete all the tests, and then you run the tests in order. So 2, 3, 4, 5, or I guess there's no 3. Um, yeah, stuff like that. And that way, I don't know, you could have like one test depend on the result of the other test if you wanted. You should probably try to avoid that, but at least this way you know that the tests are always going to be executed in the same order. Okay. Let's see. Do things build now? Okay, this is cool. So like, let's see here. Am I running? Am I running that? Yes. I wonder what happens if I execute these tests. Like, how do they run? Do they run at all? No, they blow up. Oh, because okay, actually no, this is good. It returns the toString of that, which maybe isn't what I expected. Oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted. What is this? I'm probably just not comparing them correctly. Oh yeah. Okay, so the book. Oh, interesting. Okay, so now I should just call book dot get owner name. This isn't words and definition. This is owner. This is description. This owner. Okay, so the owner name is equal to owner, and then we'll say assert that book. Come on, get appointments size equal to 1. Sure, whatever. Iterator dot next dot get description equal to description. Let's see if this works better now. Yay, that passed. Okay. So here again, I'm using my test to sort of just give me an idea of how things are working. Okay, so this is looking better. I don't know if there's any more tests. Let's see here. Do we need to? We probably need to test that we can fetch fetch an appointment book. Okay, so let's see here. Well, no, actually, we do that right here. We add the appointment, and then we get the appointment. So, wow, okay, things are working. Things are working nicely. Good. Here in the REST client. So, verify that an appointment book can be populated and fetched. Thanks. Okay, and so like now, I want to run all my tests. I assume some project 4 tests are going to fail. Yeah. Okay, empty server. Oh yeah, here's a test that needs to change. So empty server. So this is missing. This is missing owner name. And so now here, instead of writing standard out, we should just say missing owner. So it contains missing owner. Contain string missing owner. And then there should be nothing written to standard out. Standard out. Equal to empty. Let's run this again. Nice. And I don't know, I've got some other stuff here, and I can go and fix it up, I suppose. But otherwise, I think stuff is running, which I'm pretty impressed by. Nope, stuff is not running. No definitions throws appointment book. To the rest of okay, so no definition throws this. So if oh, interesting, it doesn't throw an HTTP. It doesn't have a. I wonder why. Oh, because does it succeed appear or something? Owner. So the whole idea is that this is what? It's not no definitions. This is, oh, okay, yeah. No, it would be no appointments. Oh, that's okay. Appointments. Huh, I wonder why that doesn't throw an exception. So, okay, so now I have this integration test that's failing. I want to go write the equivalent unit test for this so I can understand why it is when I request the appointment book for an owner that doesn't exist, why it doesn't throw a 404. So I'm good. I'm going to go back and I'm going to write an appointment test for that in the servlet. Which is funny because I thought I had something like this. Maybe I don't. Add appointments, owner. No, I have owner required, but I don't have empty, or I guess non-existent, non-existent appointment, non-existent appointment book returns 404 or is not found. So I'm going to, I guess I'm going to add that down here at the bottom real quick. Let's see here. Non-existent, appointment book. Returns not found. And okay, so let's see here. Let's see what it does. It walks it out. It says, here's the owner. There is nothing in the servlet. And let's see if it blows up. Okay, it doesn't. Oh, it prints out that it's getting it. It says it wanted the 404, but instead, oh, it does set as 404. Huh, that's surprising. Okay, so then set status 404. So wait, does that actually work then? So then why doesn't it? Oh, I think I know why. I know why. Okay, so this unit test passed. So wait a second, the servlet's doing the right thing. Why did the integration test fail? And I think I've got an idea. If I close this off, if I restart the server, I have a feeling that the test will pass, that the integration test will pass. That was the project 4 IT. Let's see here. Is it running? It's running. I'm going to run project 4 IT again. And it failed, but let's see here. Test add. Okay, so that other one, I don't think it was add definition. It was this one that was failing before. I think the reason it was passing before is because there actually was there was an appointment book in memory called Word, because I think I created it some other time. And what I realized that I haven't done in the servlet is I didn't implement the delete method to delete what was in the appointment book map. It only deletes the dictionary. So if I go back to the servlet, and I know we're almost out of time. And if I look at the delete, there's, I don't know, there's some delete method someplace. Or do delete. Here we go. Dictionary.clear, and we also need to say this dot appointmentbooks.clear. And now I bet, actually, so I want to do that, and I want to fix this one. What is this one? Is complaining about. Okay, so instead it's, oh yeah, it writes the toString. Sure. I'll just. This ultimately you want to have the pretty version in there, but I'm just asking. I want to make it work because we're almost out of time. Actually, we're a little over time. Apologize for that. So I think, oh wait, that doesn't work. What doesn't it like? Oh, string containing as, oh, how about just like this? Will it work? Oh, wow, I am having problems. But was words appointment with one appointment? Oh, but it has 3 appointments? That ain't right. Because again, things aren't getting deleted. I keep adding appointments to it. Okay, so now I need to start this. Delete is important, apparently. Right, but here, I'm kind of glad that we hit this snag because this is like showing you, like, oh yeah, you got to be careful about running your test multiple times, not cleaning up, and you need to know the state of your system because you have this long-running web service, right, that maintains all this state. So now let's try it one more time. Get it to work. Still, oh, but was missing. Expected empty, but was missing owner. How come this? Oh, I see. It got further this time. Okay. I think we want to have owner here. Oops, it's called word. Stop. And then, okay, I'll do that. And then now it's going to blow up. Oh, but 2 appointments. How come it doesn't? Oh, I need to run all of them. Ugh. I need to run the entire test because this will do delete the first time. Now it's complaining about this one, but okay. It's this thing. I'm just going to call it pretty. Oh, wait, do I even need to do that anymore? No, I don't care about this. Because I think this is like, yeah. Oh, okay, this is just, okay, this is bogus because it was calling it with um, snow parameters. Okay. Good, all those pass. I just want to test one more thing. I want to know if Maven clean verify runs it ought to, and if so, I'll check it all in. There are still some things that are messy, right? I mean, we still refer to words and definitions in places, but hopefully you've gotten the gist of like the kinds of things that might need to change for your appointment book. Also, let's see here, it's running the unit tests okay, and it runs the integration tests. But anyway, so what I hope you saw tonight is how you can use refactoring tools in IntelliJ to, like, take the dictionary application and make it a fast. And make it an appointment book application. So you'll take your code that you wrote for projects 1, 2, and 3, your appointment book, your text parser and dumper and your pretty printer, move it all into the project. And then feel free to leverage this code that I've written, although I don't know, it's kind of messy in places, so I'll leave it be up to you if you want to use it. Get things working, hooray. It's the end of the evening commit message. And go from there for your project 4. I hope this gives you a head start. I know things went really fast, so please feel free to review the recording to understand the nuance of what I did. You'll also be working with mock objects, which will be an interesting challenge. But it's all part of project 4. And I hope it's something that ultimately you find interesting and challenging in a good way. Let me know how it goes. Okay, as I can tell from everybody leaving Zoom, class is definitely over. Thanks for sticking with us a couple extra minutes tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you again on Monday. We'll be doing mob programming. Or rather, we'll be seeing some mob programming. My thoughts exactly.